Yay! I'm recording. All right. If he's drinking, I'm drinking.
Good plan.
We're not going to stop you unless you open a fresh bottle of tequila. Then we say,
No, I've got to get at least halfway through the show
friend.
before I start doing that. Otherwise, it goes sideways really
it went
quickly.
sideways anyway.
That was a hard day. I don't apologize.
All right, are we all prepared?
Yes.
Beverages asunder? I don't know what asunder means. I mean, I know what it means. I just don't think I used the right word.
I don't think so either.
No, not even close.
we're going to judge. It's not the first or last time.
No. Oh, welcome to E1R Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball culture. It doesn't matter what kind of Lemma Champ or Lucky Track Dog League you run, SCCA or NASA, we won't discriminate, as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussion, tips, tricks, news and notes in the world of amateur endurance racing, and whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough and Chrissy gives us just the tip, we are sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
I'm Jeff.
Turn the music off. Thank you.
It's going down.
It's
And
fading.
It's called a fade.
I'm mental.
And this is everyone racers. Thank you for coming back and listening to a Satan's Kitten episode of our podcast. It's episode 191. VF-191 is a U.S. Navy fighter squadron that fought in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. They were known as the Satan's Kittens. If you're not driving, grab your E1R bingo card. Get this. Jeff updated the bingo card.
That's right.
Which means I need to open a bingo card so we can see what we got.
Yeah.
All right, let's move right along because we've got a lot to talk about today. What you working on, Jeff?
So it was another week with a bachelor dad, so I had a lot of not time to work on cars and things. But I did mow the lawn, changed the oil in the Mazda 3, and cleaned the headlights for the sale prep.
I see this.
And let me tell you, there is nothing more fantastic than polishing a pair of shitty headlights.
I know so much. I did
I
two
put-
layers on the on my Mazda.
Oh,
It
no,
was
hold
like-
up. Before you do that, Jeff, because you put them in the show notes, do the screen sharing. Enable
That's
screen
true.
sharing.
And
This
I'll
is great
describe
pod-
it for our
Thank you. This
podcast
is
listeners.
great
Ah.
podcast.
I don't even
started
have it
with-
up on my thing.
It started with shitty looking headlights. Ended up with clear headlights.
Yeah, basically.
Put green tape around it to not mar the paint. I can't even believe it that Jeff would do such a thing. Wow. Yeah.
So whoever
there you
buys
go.
this car, in typical Jeff fashion, you're going to spend more money than you're going to get for it, getting it ready for someone to buy.
It's a bit true.
You're
This is
still not enabling
Not quite
things.
as much.
I know.
Screen
I have to open it. I didn't even have it open.
Oh well. Everyone gets the
Forget-
idea.
It's.
I described it to such an incredible standard that everyone will understand.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
There. Does anyone care? There they are.
Okay, there we
Pre
go.
and post
See?
polish.
My description
Yay.
was accurate.
It was. It
There you
was.
go. Thanks.
Great.
Thanks.
We only do that because we have a guest, and their podcast is much more visually interesting than ours.
It's better in every
Or
way.
topically interesting,
We're trying to step it
conversationally
up.
interesting. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Chris,
Guys,
why don't you?
Edited.
don't stop. Just keep going.
Chris, while we're vamping, why don't you tell us what you were working on?
I stripped out and sanded the boat in
Oh.
prep for repaint number 2 on 3/4 of a hull. And I did the stripping. I did some of the sanding. Chrissy will talk about how much she helped with other stuff, which is great. But for those of you who were not here for the saga that was last year when we did this, I will tell you right now, do not decide that restoring old boats is a good hobby. It is not. It is a terrible hobby. Don't
When you
do
have
it.
other hobbies, if that's all you have to do in life and that's all you want to do,
If you're like a retired guy who
That's
doesn't
what
want to
I'm
sit
thinking.
around
Yeah.
and talk to your wife,
completely.
maybe a
Well,
good
then
hobby.
get a wooden boat, like a 30s Chris Craft or something. That's great. You'll never see your wife again. But this is a 1982 Boston Whaler 17-foot Montauk. It's been in my family for 30 years, and we decided to redo it and got most of the way through it last year. And it was a brutal job. And we did not finish it because it was July and we wanted to, use it. So put it back together unfinished and are now stripped it all back apart to do it properly.
We were also considering suicide. So
Yeah,
we just
there was a
needed to
trigger
stop.
warning as soon as we sat in the boat.
Sandahuela. But it is also worth mentioning to maybe some of our newer listeners that you guys got married in that boat. So it has
Well,
heritage.
not
and
really in the
provenance.
boat, but
You arrived in the boat. It was a wonderful
Sure.
sunset picture as the boat arrived and you guys were there in your wedding clothes and then walked along the beach. It was awesome.
here I thought the provenance was that I got it when I was 12, and that boat and I have been through a lot of adventures together,
Including getting married, your greatest adventure ever. We're really trying to help you here, Chris.
I don't need the help.
Don't lie.
Is getting a boat from your family, is that essentially like a reverse inheritance? Like
Yes.
instead of here's a thing that's going to make your life better, here's a thing that is going to, like, you know, you're going to have to center your life around this now.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
I've been doing that though for the last 15 years anyway. Like, no one else uses it, no one else touches it, no one else maintains it. So finally my dad's like, all right, here's a title, just here you go.
And I've been there and doing the same thing right next to you for the last 13. So
Exactly.
just saying.
Reverse inheritance is going into my daily vernacular.
Well, and your nephew will probably learn how to drive that boat.
Who knows?
We'll see. Not sure if it's gonna be
Anyway.
around that long.
I don't
Might
trust
be-
him.
that
I don't
pause.
trust him that much right now.
Not near anything, that's for
I mean,
sure.
he's one. So he's-
That was a pause that said that little shit's not going anywhere near this boat.
He's got to prove himself first.
Well,
Anyway,
he likes to poop his pants and chew at this point, so there's not a whole lot of.
So he's
things you
perfect
can-
for a boat. Absolutely. That's exactly the kind of
get that
decision making.
yes,
but he doesn't like to get dirty, so I'm pretty sure I don't think he's gonna like that.
got to work on it first. Chrissy, do you want to keep going? Describe.
Oh,
what
yeah,
else you've
I've
been
been-
doing. I mean, it's
been
pretty much the same
helping.
thing.
Pretty much sanding whaler. I had a local
Whaler.
we had a local fundraiser this weekend, which was great because everybody is dying to get outside these days. So I was out just down the street from our house. We had it was a duck derby. So everybody bought ducks and we floated them down the creek, and whoever's duck came across first won a whole bunch of, had a whole bunch of, got some money. And we sold out of ducks. So 999 ducks went down the river, which is pretty awesome. And
Didn't get one more.
No,
we started at
it's a
one
perfect
and
number.
got 990. So they come in, like, we have them to packs of 100. So
They lose a
No.
few over the years too. But
no, we add them back. Yes, mental.
I'd forgotten until I read that when I edited the show notes how much I used to enjoy hearing about that, because you didn't do them last year.
We
And
did
you're
it
on
last
the
year. We just
Parks
didn't.
and Rec committee.
Oh, well, this is actually it has gone to the library. So I'm no longer in Parks and Rec. I'm part of the library. I'm on my local library board, and we actually run that event now. So, yeah, it's a lot of work. Long day. Scooty got a workout. It was awesome because they shut the whole street down because there's performers and all kinds of people walking around. So the only motorized thing that was going back and forth was Scooty. So I had to go back up to the library about 6 or 7 times, and I came home twice because I was just like, well, it's three more blocks. I might as well just try. So we just lost Jeff.
We just lost Jeff. All right.
Okay, well, it's a good thing that you're recording because
Absolutely. There we go.
Anyway, so that was Saturday. It was a long day, and been working on the boat. So that's what I'm doing. Mental. Do you want to talk about what you're doing?
I'm quasi done traveling now, but I've been traveling a whole lot. But I'm actually home this weekend. To wit, Vicky has reminded me I still haven't finished the roof. Got some work done on that yesterday, and I started my new job as my high school stubbly beard is indicating. I do want to thank Uncle Dave for stepping in last week. I apologize for that last minute nature. It was just no way I was going to get everything done I needed done. So I also realized the mistake in that is that my position on the show is tenuous at best, because Dave did a great job. I appreciate that one. But one of the folks I got to spend this past weekend with racing is the Ian Peterson, one of Jeff's new favorite liberal snowflakes. I didn't type that. And half of the Apex Adjacent podcast. So Ian, why don't you tell us what you've been working on?
Hello. I was working on not dying this weekend in my family's race car, which is also sort of a reverse inheritance. It's a 1987 Maserati by Turbo, so sort of a similar situation as the boat. But yeah, it was great. I I drove out to Oklahoma, and Mental flew in, and we met, and then we were teammates for the weekend. So it was great. And I'm sure we're going to talk about that later, I think.
Mm-hmm. We sure are. Jeff,
Oh,
can
and
you hear us?
I'm sorry. I should
Yeah.
also mention that I'm not alone. I have a guest. I brought a guest.
You're gonna have to unblur it a little bit because I think it sees the green as a green screen.
This is Big Spoon, and
Who is
Mental and I
it?
worked very hard on him. This is Big Spoon.
Oh, he's cute. Oh, we have to explain who he is or what he is because our listener people don't know what you're talking
Yes.
about.
So Big Spoon, for anyone who's not watching on the YouTube, is a green collection of padding from a bunch of flotation devices, three things, and duct taped together to make me a pad so I could see out of the race car. And
No
reach the
way. You just
controls.
sat on this guy's lap?
That's why it's called Big Spoon.
This is the cutest thing.
Does
I thought
it
you
have
just slept with
legs?
him.
I missed the bottom. Let me see the bottom.
Yeah, he's got.
Oh, okay.
Because we had to be able to get the
Wow.
anti-submarine belt through.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
That's where the poop goes. Yeah.
It is a Maserati, so
I
yeah.
drove in the rain, so that's where the poop
Okay.
There was a lot of poop, and it was Oklahoma rain.
Mhm.
So
But yeah, me and Big Spoon, we made it through.
Excellent. So nice. Jeff, you back?
That's fantastic.
Can you hear?
I am back.
And you?
I can hear.
Okay, good. So
I am
you can-
Wi-Fiing off my phone because my Wi-Fi disappeared in my house.
Hey, that's
So-
on the
At any
bingo
minute-
thing.
At any minute, it is. At any minute, the 12-year-old is going to kick down the door and be like, "Daddy, fix the internet. TikTok's not working." Where are we at? Are we at news and notes?
News and notes.
we are
yeah.
at news and notes.
News and notes time.
In
Uh,
breaking news, Jeff is really glad that Mental's recording this night's episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who don't know, Uncle Joe is a car guy. I don't know if you know this, but our president, the president of the United States of America, Joe Biden, his father managed a car dealership most of his life. He famously owns but cannot drive because sitting presidents are not allowed to drive.
Any president.
Past presidents too.
Yeah,
Ah,
even
Can
I
never
did not know
drive
that.
again.
A 1967 327 Greenwood Green Corvette convertible. Or no, it's a hardtop. Excuse me. Well, it seems that President Joe Biden was touring Ford's Rogue Electric Vehicle Center on Tuesday. He gave a speech and then they went out to the test pad, and totally unplanned, he somehow convinced them to let him test drive the unreleased electric F-150, which is known as the Lightning. He blasted around the giant paved testing area, including a couple of acceleration tests. And he came back and he said, and I quote, "This sucker's pretty quick." And then he said, he looked at an engineer and he said, "I'm guessing this thing has a 0 to 60 about 4.3 seconds. To which a Ford employee said, 4.4. Oh, wait, I'm not allowed to say that. So he walked it back and he said it's not official. But yes, his butt odometer is within a tenth, 0 to 60. So good for frickin' Joe. He then dodged a question about Israel and did another launch to 80. Video from C-SPAN is in the show notes. Go ahead, Ian.
Did you guys see the insane thing that there's a conspiracy theory out there that he wasn't driving the car?
Fascinating you brought that up, because that's next in the news and notes, because it made, quote, even the right-wing nut jobs come out of the woodwork who claimed it had 2 steering wheels and that the president didn't drive. And genuinely, one of our favorites, Jason Torchinsky, said, shut up. Torchinsky's been a Lemons judge. He actually came down to CMP, camped out with us that time when the boat blew up. We had Pantless Matt back in 2015. And yeah, so there's just this whole big ridiculous thing. And that's the best conspiracy theory you can come up with. I mean,
The
prior to
same
that,
people
it
that
was-
came up with Hillary Clinton leading a satanic sex cult in a Brooklyn pizza shop. The best they come up with is 2 steering wheels. Really?
That's what you
Where's
seriously.
the
like, how about-
creativity, people? Where's the
about-
creativity?
How
Did
about
you use up your one good
aliens
idea?
are using the wireless controls in the F-150 because they want us all to be slaves to toil away in their salt mines or something? I mean, 2
Nope.
steering wheels. That's your conspiracy theory.
Out of
But-
ideas.
Hey,
Out of
Slow
ideas.
news day.
Out of curiosity, what website does Jason Torzinski write for?
It was on Jalopnik.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Click. Thanks.
Oh, he's doing. By the
Well
way,
played.
if you
Well played.
prompt it, you're not allowed to check it off your bingo card.
I don't know. It worked. So apparently,
Do we all have this? I can't reset my card. Do we all have the same card?
I
No,
have,
because I don't
I have
have
number 9.
I don't
Oh,
have
okay.
that
20.
thing he was just asking
Good. I have
for.
27, but I can't. When I
yeah.
tried to open it again,
I
it
actually
won't let
opened
me
a card.
open
Oh, wow.
another one. Anyway, okay, it's my turn. F1 is going to Monaco. Woo! Join us in our F1 fantasy league.
Yes.
Well, don't join us because I don't even know that you can join us. But since we took this from our friends at Apex Adjacent podcast, and since Ian's here, and we typically can be seen on the YouTube with a rocks glass. Be honest. Are you Apex Adjacent Whiskey Faction?
Yes, that is me.
Yes. And you are second in the league.
I joined it today. Because
What?
I realized I went back to I was listening to one of your shows on thing, and I realized that there's a link. You had a link in the show notes, and so I joined it today.
How can you
And
be
he's in second place.
Second
Well, because
He's
because-
been playing in his
because
league,
you've been playing,
so his
yeah.
points transfer.
That's not that. Oh, well,
Yeah.
can we kick you out? I'm just.
I also realized that there's a league of leagues, and
Yes.
it turns out I found this out today. I didn't know that this existed before today. Clearly, I was procrastinating at work, and I was clicking around. There's a league of leagues, so you compete. Your league competes against all the other leagues, and our league, Apex Adjacent, is ranked 22nd in the world.
What?
Wow.
That's
Apparently,
crazy.
We're very good at
I
it.
guess I should join your league.
Well,
What
I'm
place-
I also
what
noticed-
place are you in your league?
That's what I'm.
12.
Oh,
And
we
he's
would
second
not
in
be
ours.
very good.
I also noticed that you have a lot of people in your league that paid to be part of the extra $5 million and extra trades clubs. None of
You
us have done that.
I did. Here's the thing. I'm not good at it because
I'm sorry. Did you see where Jeff and Mental sit on our list?
but I have $5 million extra to play with.
Oh, that's
So
true.
my team is pretty good. My team is good. I have a good team. I like spread out my risk. I do the whole thing. But when it comes to predictions, I'm terrible because I go
Yeah.
in there, I set it, and I have great predictions. And then I go in there again and again and again, and I keep fiddling with it.
till quali 3. No,
Yeah.
I think it's
I'm
Last
like, I have like
race-
weather maps pulled up and like past performance at the track, and like I'm doing all these sorts of calculations when really I just need to be like, well, Lewis is going to win. And
somewhere between Lewis
Lewis is no-
Bottas
yeah,
and
Lewis.
And it should
who's
be-
going to take Paul Bottas? Yeah, go ahead.
It should be mentioned, everyone on his show already knows this, but everyone on our show, if you're not listening to Apex Adjacent, you really should. His partner, Dave, literally looks up last year's results for the same race, puts that in, and routinely beats him.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot easier than weather maps and stuff.
hasn't never watched an entire F1 race.
Oh
start
no,
to finish.
come on. Okay, anyway, don't forget to do your picks ASAP because Monaco's schedule is a little different with practice on Thursday. Quali's still on Saturday, so watch the race. And thanks for joining our league, I guess. Now we're all
That's
now
a good-
Chris is what, in 3rd or something.
Oh well, still better than 12th.
And whatever you guys are in.
Yep.
I actually fixed my lineup and I actually did predictions. So I suspect I'll get better.
Good-
It's
there's
not
only
a
one way to
guarantee,
go.
Jeff. I'll just let you know that right now.
No.
Only way
I
is
mean,
up.
Monaco's pretty easy, right? Because it's like whoever is on pole is going to win.
Wins. Yeah.
Top 10.
All right.
All right. Hey, a superstar racer and the only female ever to win a Trans Am TA2, Michelle Abate, announced on her Instagram that she will make her NASCAR debut this weekend at Circuit of the Americas in the number 30 Skoshenic, I don't know what that is, Toyota Tundra. Great great name, people. When everyone can tell exactly what your business is when you're named, you're doing it well. A business graduate from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, Abade started racing in college and has shown a great deal of talent and hustle. Her Instagram is worth a follow if you're into that kind of thing. Looking forward to seeing a race from her this weekend.
But yay, women in motorsports.
Also new on the bingo card, women in motorsports.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, not on mine, but fine.
No, I don't have it.
Yeah,
No. It's good to have choices, though.
that's right. Upcoming races. Champ Car is running there. Sahleen's Champ Yard Dog at the Glen. That's a hard one to say. Champ Yard Dog at the Glen. At, of course, Watkins Glen this weekend. There will be 96 cars. 33 of them will be BMWs.
Boring.
23 Miatas, 7 Hondas, 8 Porsches, and a 71 Opel GT.
Hell yeah. That's great.
That's
What
fantastic.
kind of motor's in an Opel GT?
Hey,
I know it's an Opel, but
1.9
like
liter
1.8.
4-cylinder. Yeah,
Yeah,
1.9
it's not
usually.
like- It's not like a Japanese Isuzu and everything.
No,
No,
it's an
that's
old
actual
school German.
Opel.
German.
People
Good.
swap all kinds of junk into those things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This one's
not
actually
just
done
the-
up like they call it the bread van. It's done up like the Ferrari 250 GT bread van.
Nice.
Oh, that definitely has a swap of some sort, and I don't remember which one it is though. I
Mhm.
think it might be a Ford 2.3 or something like
I
that.
think you're right. Yeah. I actually,
I
as you say
was-
that, it's coming back to me.
I was at a Fogey car show recently with the Boy Scouts. We were working the parking lot, and someone had a Manta.
Wait, you
And I went, Manta. And everyone around me was like, what is this guy doing?
That is
Probably
that's a
said that
cool car.
anyway.
see the connotation of working the parking lot. It really depends on the group
I
you're in.
thought the same
When it's
thing.
when it's the Boy Scouts, different than
Community
it could be.
service. Somebody had to help them park the cars.
Oh.
Never mind.
That's
Isn't
going in the
but
notes.
Is it work in
Jeff-
the parking lot at Boy Scout events how you got community service in the first
Yes.
place?
That's how the judge gave it to me. You got to quit working the parking lot, the Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
I'm hanging up now because I'm not going to.
All right, folks. Also, don't forget this weekend is the Concours de Le Mans this Saturday in conjunction with the Amelia Island Concours. If you don't live in Florida or you're not down that area, you absolutely should watch that on the 24 Hours of Lemons Instagram.
Donnie
the
will
only
be
way to
glad
watch
that you
it?
mentioned the right state.
Is that the only way to watch it?
Or you could go in person.
Okay, I just wasn't sure.
Yeah,
if
it's
there
not
was
going to be
other
like a
places
live
in-
broadcast, but I imagine they'll post up the results or some of the more interesting cars.
Cool. Okay, this weekend is also the first of 3 Lucky Dog Carolina Cup events. The Southern Dog Delight is Saturday and Sunday at Carolina Motorsports Park. Good luck to all the racers. Don't forget, this is one of 3 Southern races for Lucky Dog, with a race to follow at Charlotte next, and then a CMP back in August.
Do we know anybody who's running that? I just figured we would know somebody.
I neglected to email their race director, so I don't have an entry list.
That's
But
fine.
I would.
We
I
don't
would be
usually get one anyway.
Stunned if we don't. Well, they got a new one, and she actually sent us the first 2 races
Oh.
ahead of time. Because Kathy's busy doing Kathy stuff,
That's
And,
as she should.
and so their new kind of manager is she's really good. I just failed to email her.
As should I.
Recent results.
Champ Car was at Hallett in Oklahoma this weekend. Saturday
Oklahoma.
was Oklahoma. Saturday was an 8-hour race.
This is you, Ian. Sorry, we
That's
set
you,
you up.
Ian. It's Brown.
Hey, oh, it's Brown. First,
He's like, yep.
so first was the number 998 Wheels America Racing in a Miata. Second was Looney Tunes Racing, 5 laps back, and an 89 Mustang that was stupid fast. And third was Night Fury Racing in their Celica. They were 2 laps back from them. And then we, Dead Pedal Racing, we were in Maserati by Turbo because we're dumb. And we were 9th overall and 2nd in D class behind that Fox Body Mustang.
9th overall is pretty
9th
good.
overall is awesome.
I think it's,
And we were off track for about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that in a bit. So Sunday, the rain came and the whole story changed. Siamo Tutore Piloti absolutely dominated in their 94 Miata. They were 6 laps ahead of us. We were second overall, first in class, and third was Texas Thunder, 3 laps behind us in another Miata. And yes, they're wearing those. I would
I have a
congratulate them.
Siamo 2D
Yeah.
Piloti.
I thought you were about to do a shoey in our honor, is what I thought was about to happen. I was about to get really excited.
I would have congratulate them at the end of the race.
He just doesn't want Diet
did really
Fago
great.
in his shoe.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. But all 3 of them, very Italian. I like Peter Griffin, Family Guy
Bobbidi boopidi.
Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Bobbidi boopy, you drove a good race. He's a good race with you. Yeah.
That's a spicy Miata.
Yeah. they were good guys and they earned it. It was well done.
All right, listener feedback time. Dan Gilla, the Gilla Monster, wrote in and sent a bunch of screenshots where he was paging through the conversation he was having with us on our social media, telling us like 2 years ago that we should move to swapping coolers and what his setup looked like. And it looks exactly like the setup that we just built that Chris swears he stole from Hamsa. And now Dan's
No,
like,
Hamsa
but that
didn't
was
have
me.
that
I
idea."
told y'all. I said, look, you just have to know if you're talking to us in our social media, it's not Chris. Chris is not on any of our social media. He knows nothing. So probably Mental had the conversation and yeah, we didn't know it. But anyway, he said, that was my idea. It's everybody's idea. We're okay.
I never claimed it was my idea. I knew I heard it somewhere. Oh, Ian, go ahead.
Sorry. I forgot
No,
about the
please.
handling protocol.
No, it's okay.
I'm only used to interrupting one person, so this is a whole new thing. I have been laying awake at night since I got back from Oklahoma, thinking about my shirt cooler thing, whatever idea, which is to take like you can get custom silicon ice molds, and so to make it almost like a tall boy shape of ice. And so there's be tubes like this, like tall boys, like the length of the cooler with a handle, and like 6 of them like in big tubes, and then you just dunk that whole frozen thing into the water.
That's not a bad idea.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Right?
You just have to have a
very
way to
complicated.
refreeze.
That's how I was thinking.
Right.
Or
That's the bad
have
thing.
like
you need a
6 of
cooler,
them.
you need a freezer at the track. That's the only bad thing.
Or dry ice.
Right.
Some friends of ours use dry ice. It's expensive though.
Because
Yeah,
we get stuff like stuck in the pump, you know.
Yeah, I never claimed that to be my idea. I knew it came from somewhere. I didn't know where it was. So hey, you know what? Thanks, Dan. Great. Appreciate it.
Just try to stake claim of it. And you're just like, fine. Then you claim
I
it.
think on the show you said it's the way Hamsa set it up.
No, it's the same pump Hamza has.
That's
it.
what you said. Same
Okay.
pump. You're right.
Well,
Same
it-
pump. So that's why I knew the pump would work.
Dan,
Well, Dan,
and
thanks for the
Hamza
tip.
are not that far apart as far as both of them are engineer types, super smart, do, just
Drive
Hamza-
trains.
Yeah, Hamza does it creepy government style, and Gilas does it sell out corporate OEM style.
Okay, let's move on. Greg O'Brien from Cheesebolt Enterprises chimed in on the YouTubes with great tips these last 2 podcasts. I listen only when mowing the lawn, so I'm officially listening. It's in listening season again.
All right. Cameron Lopez dropped into the Facebook, posted a couple pictures of us and their team, Battlescarred Motorsports at Hallett. Linked to DIY article on making your own arrow from professionalawesome.com. He also did some really cool 3D printing stuff, gave us a little adapter to make a race car lollipop, and sent us plans to make a 3D business card sized F-35 model. So you can have all of that stuff. And we will absolutely be using that research for future mods on the podcast. Oh,
Great.
never mind.
Thanks-
I see what
thanks for
I see
reading
what
that
I did
section you
there.
read.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
All right.
So Mental, how about some listener feedback from you? Because you were a listener, I think maybe for it's like first or second time that you haven't been here. So, I mean, the feedback goes both ways. It's always a gift until it's not. So
Obviously Dave did a great job, especially for stepping in literally at the last minute. I think I texted you 2 hours before recording time that I wasn't going to make it. And he's so smart as always,
Like
always
usual.
funny. Yeah. Everything that
Dave
everyone
steps up
loves
and does
about
things properly.
Yeah, everything
Yeah.
everyone loves about Uncle Dave at the racetrack. He did the same thing on the podcast. The military ID did get the speeding ticket actually knocked down because it was a little uglier than what they wrote me up for. And I actually wrote it down on my phone, but I'm not going to go looking for it right now. And it was something else. But yeah, it's a great show. I would have listened to it if it wasn't my show. Maybe
Well,
Dave and
fantastic.
Aaron
That's
should have a podcast.
Thanks to the feedback.
Probably.
Great.
Yeah. So Ian, you're sort of a listener. We're not going to put you on the spot and ask you if you
He was when he was
remember
trapped in a
anything or
car
anything.
driving from Oklahoma to Colorado.
Well, yeah. What I was going to ask is, so what do you do if like 2 hours with notice your podcast partner's like, oh, I can't make it?
We record a different day because he's the one who does the recording. Otherwise, it'd just be me talking to nothing. And nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
All right, we went iRacing, right? Did we? I don't know. I wasn't there. I was playing dad. Did anybody know anything about the Lemons iRacing?
No, so the new season has started, and it's worth going to and checking out. We actually got some listeners that have asked us about that, and I try to talk about the I Suck at Racing as well as our Monday night leagues. But with the emerging from the Rona and travel, none of us really have had a chance to attend. So this Sunday, it is going to be Trash Series Sprints and the Gladiator, which is always hilarious. And I'm actually home for once, so I'm going to be in the announcer's booth. I don't know if anybody else is going to be joining.
Woo, woo.
But if you're sitting at home on Sunday nights or you need YouTube for noise and you've already listened to this show, absolutely throw on the Bearded Sim Racer YouTube channel and check out what they did. Or Sunday night, join on the Twitch. They chat on the Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, all of that. It's worth watching. I am eagerly looking forward to the next installment of the roller derby. I think that is the greatest iRacing
Roller
invention
derby was
ever.
fantastic.
That was great.
I love it.
Yeah.
But we should explain what that is for the people who haven't been paying attention. So the roller derby is you are in teams of 2 and only one of the car's laps matter. And the person who isn't laps counting is able to smash any of the other cars that they want to.
And usually the
Damn it.
team, the one that matters is a slower car, and then the blocker has a fast car.
Yes.
And the
So
damage is off.
You
So,
can choose to either defend or offend, you decide.
It was fun to
Awesome.
watch. That was a good one. Hey,
Did
you
we
know
do any racing for us?
We had a race. None of us were there, but I set it up and it existed because
Sure, people
Well,
went, and hopefully
life-
they had a good
right.
time.
life gets in the way sometimes. Right now, between Sand and the Whala and ground school and everything going on, it's just not the right time for us right now. But hey, we hope you all had a good time. And I'll say you are definitely worth the 38 cents it costs for each race. So we'll keep putting them on. Even
If
not
you
many people show
iRace
up, it doesn't
on
matter.
Mondays, 9:00 Eastern, check-in hosted races for the E1R race. It is password protected. Contact us. We'll give you the password. It's ST43 and
the Discord link, because
get
it's
the
it's
Discord
only
link,
half
yeah.
as entertaining without the Discord link.
And
That's
I
true.
can't cough the Discord link, so
No. It's fun. It's casual, easygoing, good times.
You know who's worth way more than 38 cents?
I'm
Is
waiting.
it Chrissy's mom and dad?
Hey, great job, Ian.
Yep. See,
You did it.
even the new person knows.
Hi, Mom.
Boy. That's fantastic.
I need it on my bingo card.
Hey, topic time. I should have changed the bingo card way earlier because you're all having a blast. And since
I
I have
haven't
no
opened it in
internet,
years.
I'm not doing it.
I have a total of 2 boxes so far.
Oh,
One
come
was in the middle.
on. That's
Seriously.
Yeah, I got a crappy one too, and I've got like
Oh.
Wow.
I have a lot more than that.
By the way, if you get bingo, Ian, you're gonna have to tell us what you're gonna have to scream bingo and say what you got. Just so you know.
Oh,
So our main topic, we have Ian from Apex Adjacent, but that is not why we invited him. We invited him for his fantastic hair and his snowflake ways, so that he could also tell us how poorly or well or how racing a Maserati biturbo with a Big Spoon is fantastic. And Hallett went at Hallett. And we're also going to maybe depart some advice if you haven't been to the track in a while, or maybe you're a sometimes racer, mostly lap day guy, and you want to get better at racing. So we're going to start with Hallett review. Tell me, gentlemen, how did Hallett go?
I'll start. So first of all, Hallett is an awesome track. Like, it's super challenging, and a lot of fun. But I think, for our car especially, like, it's not easy. Like, it was not an easy track. Learning the track was not hard. Like, where to go was not hard. Like, you kind of like finding the broad strokes of the line came pretty quickly to me, but fine tuning some of the corners took a lot more work, and someone yelling at me on the radio.
Does the yelling help? Actually,
it did. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
He asked me to.
And was this your first trip to Hallett?
Yeah, I had never been to Hallett before, and the Maserati is actually a different Maserati than the one that I drove before, and it drives very differently. And I hadn't been in a race car other than like doing like rental go-karts and track days in my Volkswagen. I hadn't been in a race car in 4 years. So it took a little bit of time to remember how things worked.
Yeah. And for those of you who want to learn more about the Maserati, your dad was on our podcast on episode 180.
Yes.
So I just want to plug, and I'll do the YouTube thing. I'll put it right up there somewhere.
He won't
And,
actually
put
put it
that
right
link.
up there somewhere because he doesn't have the video file. I'll put it up there somewhere.
I do.
You've dropped out twice.
I know, but you're going to send it to me, and I'll post it.
You guys don't fight. You have company.
Yes. What's
Thank
one of
you.
the things also that he was talking about is it's an older track, and like many older tracks, it is very nuanced. You get the broad strokes down very quickly. What's particularly interesting about Hallett is the track will change as you're driving, depending on what the weather's doing. It was overcast, and then the sun would come out, and not just the dead pedal car, but all of the cars would suddenly get very loose. That wicked fast Looney Tunes Mustang, we would watch him sideways out of every corner. There was a Porsche Boxster that was, would be hanging the rear end out. And then a couple of the Miatas were dropping wheels as they were exiting corners. So you would learn the line, the temperature would change, and then you would have to learn a new line. I think Chris, your hand was up first.
Is Hallett the one that has no bridge?
Correct.
Or so once you're in the infield, you're in. Like, that's it.
They would red flag if they would do a full course yellow, bunch everybody up behind the pace car if they needed to do the crossing.
Yeah, and on
That's
the
so
testing
fun.
day, we did a testing day on Friday, and they would just do a black flag and just kind of have everyone come into the hot pit for a minute and then let people out.
Mm-hmm.
So a question about this, the track changing drastically when the sun and things were out. Was it like a really polished surface? Like, how come the temperature or the sun was changing so? Because of Oklahoma, right? I mean, sun comes out and the temperature changes by many degrees, right?
Yeah, I mean, the weather in Oklahoma famously changes quite a bit pretty quickly, and it's also really humid there, and it just felt like it was just everything was moist and greasy.
Yeah.
And
Oh, okay. It was getting moist.
it was very moist.
They also they drift there. They do a lot of drifting, so there's a rubber buildup that is very temperature sensitive.
Yeah, and then the other
Very
thing
cool.
too that was crazy, that I thought was kind of crazy about this track, is that it has a lot more camber. All of the corners have some sort of camber, and more than any other track that I've been to. Like, lots of off camber, like suck you into the grass type corners. And at one point I was telling Menzel on Sunday it rained, and especially when it first started raining and all of the oil and the rubber and all that was coming up out of the tarmac, and you'd get on the wrong line, and if you were off camber, it just felt like the whole car was sliding perpendicular. Like, I told him it felt like when I got caught out by a spring snowstorm and I already had my summer tires on my car or something, and you just start sliding.
Camber is way bigger of a deal in a race car than it is in a regular street car. Like, and really I learned this, and I know we're going to get to the advice section a little bit, but the track walk, feeling where the camber is and knowing what the camber is so important.
And
that rubber layer
Ian,
too.
Yeah. Ian didn't get to do the track walk. He was still driving in. It reminds me, you had mentioned last week that you thought the track was flat, and this is absolutely not. There's probably 750 feet of elevation changes. On this track. Ooh. It's in the hills. It's a beautiful place to watch, actually.
That rubber layer especially can be treacherous when it gets hot. But like I've seen, for example, Lime Rock, when you cross the rubber layer in the left-hander, you go from traction to no traction at all to traction again. And it very much is weather dependent. So especially with drifters laying down a thick rubber layer, that's totally going to change with temperature, without a doubt. Makes sense.
Yeah. So how did your race go?
I think the race went really well, actually. I mean, we had a weird issue on Saturday with an electrical problem that we were...
Wait, an Italian car with an electrical problem?
Yeah.
Clutch my pearls.
I know, right? And it turned out there was a lot of debate about whether it was like a bad battery, a bad alternator, or some of they were now running a Hallett ECU and coils on it. And so there was some debate about like whether those were faulty or there was a ground wire or something. And we spent 15 minutes in the pit in the paddock changing the alternator. And in the course of changing the alternator, we realized that the wire to the voltage regulator inside the alternator itself was hanging on by like a tiny little thread of wire. So we were getting inconsistent voltage to the ECU and everything else. So it was going all bonkers.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We also broke a hood pin.
Oh, that was fun. Was that Saturday?
We broke on a Saturday when your dad was out because
right.
We saw the hood kind of listing at full throttle. So that was a rapid application of zip ties and duct tape.
Yeah. And then it broke again when I was out. The zip tie, that solution failed somehow. I don't know how that could have failed. That broke when I was out, and I got the meatball flag. That was fun. And we actually had the Flagtronics thing in the car, which was cool.
Ooh.
What'd you think?
Yeah. Go ahead.
What did you think about the Flagtronics?
I thought it was great. We didn't have local. There was no local. It was so it was like global flags, and then
it's a full course yellow.
Right, full course yellow or full course black flag or checkered and green and all that. But then we did have car specific black flags and meatball flags.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I got the orange globe on my dash, which was fun.
The Sunday, I think they figured it out because Sunday, not during my first stint, but my second stint, they were doing the regional yellows, and it was interesting. It worked out. Yeah.
I was too busy screaming that whole stint, so I have no idea what I was doing while I was in the car.
But Ian got to drive the car roadkill style. We just yanked the hood off of it, and he tore back out of there like Mad Max.
Yeah, that was entertaining. I did think it was funny when I got the meatball flag, because it was like the meatball flag was on, but the hood was like halfway up the thing, and I'm already so low in the car that I know.
Yeah, I know it's broken.
Yeah, thank you. Just rubbing it in at this point.
It's like the passing flag in sim racing. Like, I know they're there. Mm-hmm. Thanks.
If you want us to jump into Sunday, or are we just going to proceed? Because Sunday, the mist started to return, and we think there might be a heat soak issue with some of the electronics. So we were literally just cycling the power on the straightaway and firing it back up as we would come into a corner.
Yeah, that was wow. Yeah, that stint on Sunday, man. So they handed the car. So I got in the car. I was the third driver on Sunday. It was a 7-hour race. I think we were like kind of more down on we were second in class.
I think, yeah. And if you take the EC cars out, we were top 3.
Well, when I got in the car, were we at that point?
Yeah, because is it your uncle, Craig?
Yeah, Craig. Yeah,
crushed it. He's awesome.
A crazy fast, consistent driver. He's really good. The only thing with him is he'll sometimes, once in a while, he'll get red mist, and he'll get himself into situations. He gets into some scrapes, but otherwise, I mean, he's an amazing driver. He really is. But yeah, he put us in a great position. Then I got in the car and then we had to take the hood off again right at the beginning. So I got in the car with the hood off, and the rain was just about to start when I got in the car on Sunday. And then I
do want to tell the story. The hood flew up on Craig. As he was in pit lane, it goes.
Yeah, he had to stop in pit lane, and someone ran out to the track and pushed it back down for him, which was awesome.
Yeah, it's destroyed. It's garage art now.
Yeah, it's very wrinkly. So he comes in with the hood all like askew on the car, and I get in, and they take the hood off the car, and I go out, and the misfire at that point was clearing for, I think, because Mental drove first. He drove the first stint. Craig drove the second stint, and they were able to clear the misfire. Sorry, go ahead. Yes, Jeff.
You let Mental drive first?
Twice.
I was going to say, he just likes to get in.
He was the only one who knew the track.
That's true. If he's the only one who knew the track, I could see that.
Yeah. And it turns out he was faster than us, so it worked out. So I got in, and the misfire had been clearing with a reset of either the ignition or the master kill switch up until that point. And then by the time I got in, that wasn't working anymore, and there was no resetting it. So I spent the first few minutes of my stint on Sunday like futzing with settings, ECU settings. We have a dial for ECU settings and all sorts of stuff to try to get that
while driving.
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
And then also
there are 12 boost settings on that Haltech. It's actually kind of impressive.
It's pretty rad. It felt like a Formula One driver, except that
I was gonna say it's like Formula One. Move position, switch 3 to position 4, please. Try that.
That's exactly what I was getting from Dwayne, who's amazing. He's our crew chief.
This is now scenario B. Scenario B.
Right. Yeah. Except for me, it was scenario P for poop. So I was futzing around with that stuff, trying to get some power back and trying to like get that to work. And meanwhile, I know like the rain is coming, and I know like I'm driving super slow because I'm just fucking around with stuff trying to get it to work. And the other complication I had was my buddy Big Spoon here. We made him on Saturday evening for Sunday. It worked in one way, was that I was able to see the apex and other cars, which was good. What was not so good was that I was above it made me go like above the bolsters of the seat. So I was bracing myself to hold still.
Oh no!
This is Chrissy's life.
This is my life, but it's
we used
also
to have the aluminum seat.
Worst.
So you couldn't tell because my dad was just on a Zoom call like this, but my dad is like the shorter one in his family, and he's 6'1", and I am not. I'm 5'8".
So
all these
short round.
Why
didn't they just put like blocks on the pedals for you?
I don't know. The rest of my family, my dad's side of the family is all Scandinavian, and I am built like a fucking teapot, shoulder stout. So I don't fit in the car.
I understand. I've been there. It's terrible. And then you get sore in weird areas because you are trying to brace and you're just like, why does my right butt cheek hurt so much? It's because you find that you are just like holding your whole body to like around all the corners, and you're just, I understand.
Via clinch. It's all clinch.
I will say the drive home was pretty painful because I was driving home from Hallett, and I was like, I'm sore in a diagonal line. Like my lower left back was really sore, and then my right shoulder was really sore. I was like,
I'm there. And then you get this big bruise on your arm and you're like, what is I hitting consistently? Oh, because I was trying to like stuff myself here so I didn't slide around.
Yeah. So I was like trying to tighten belts and spin the dials and stuff like that. And then the rain started. So we had a full course yellow, and then the rain started for my stint, and that was entertaining. Yeah. And I'm curious. We didn't really talk about it mental afterwards. I'm curious to hear how you think that car handles in the rain, because I have some definite thoughts about its balance and the handling characteristics of it, because it was pretty challenging for me, at least.
Yeah. And I guess, Chrissy, we're kind of stealing into your question of how the car was.
Oh, sorry.
Please.
No.
That's great. No, let's talk about it.
Okay. But so when I started, because you got like the full spectrum, just little annoying mist, all the oil and stuff floating up, and then you got it when it started raining and washing the track away. And then it would rain hard, stop raining, rain hard, stop raining. So every lap was an adventure of trying to find traction. And to play a little insider baseball with my 4 co-host, that Maserati is what the TR could be if it was set up properly. Very short wheelbase, gobs of power, mid-range power when the turbos kick in instead of the supercharger. I found it very balanced. It is a short wheelbase. So, here to here is perfect. To here is you're out of control. So you have to have nuanced pedal inputs, but once you kind of got that balance, I loved it. It was very consistent. And any sort of forced induction, mid-range forced induction is extremely addictive, especially when you're in traffic, because all you have to do is get that boost right where you want it and you pass everyone. It's an override switch. Loved it.
Yeah. And I think for me, and this goes back to the knocking the rust off thing, and where my frustrations is where I'm at with my driving is like, I feel like I can get in that car, especially to like 8/10 pretty quickly, and like I can stay there, but then I have a hard time, especially in like faster corners and places where it's scary, pushing past that, and like
if your butt's already clinching to hold you in the seat, it's hard to clinch more when you're a little afraid.
Right. Well, that's a good point. Yeah. But yeah, so that's my sort of personal frustration, just, overall as a driver, is like, how do I get better at closer to the limit? But yeah, like in the rain, it's crazy because you can feel it start to understeer, and that is really good because like you can really, it communicates a lot when it starts to understeer, but you have to be pretty precise, like you're saying, like, because if you lift off too much, it's going to spin. If you try to dial it out with like power oversteer, it's going to spin. You just have to be patient.
Sounds like the TR. It's going to spin.
If the Maserati wasn't built like with something a homeless man would find in the dirt on the side of the road, which is pretty much how the
like
TR
dying,
is.
and then he's just like, no, I could just put it back together. We could do this.
Right. It hasn't been ripped in half 3 times and welded back together by someone who's half drunk at the track.
But it was built by Italians. So I mean, maybe some of those things are still true.
Between wine
that's possible.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think one thing, when you're getting the rust back off, you did the right thing and not trying to push too far beyond 80%, because driving and a racetrack is like a skill. It's like playing the piano. You can't just not play the piano for 5 years and just feel like you're just going to go do your thing like you did before. Like you're missing that little touch. Yeah, sure, you can get through a song and it'll be okay if you were good at it, but you've got to work your way into it. And some of it, there's no replacement for seat time, but it can be something as simple as, if it's wet and there's a safe place to do it in a parking lot, like go hoon around a little bit in the lot to feel where that limit is, because you're never going to understand where it is and how the car reacts to it if you don't experience it. And you need to find a safe place to do that.
Do you ever have low grip conditions out there in Colorado?
Once in a while. Yeah.
Now with an R32,
but
does it?
but not in the
all grip.
Maserati though. That's the difference.
It's
Like
true,
he doesn't have that with him. And
Yeah.
and sure, I can go hoon around in the, well, I was gonna say in the Mazda, but now it's a race car now. But it doesn't
It's
really
got
translate to the
plates.
Civic
It's
directly.
got
Right.
plates, right? Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
I did
So
find
you're
the limit-
suggesting?
Oh, sorry.
Go
Go
on.
ahead. I was going to say I did find the limit pretty dramatically on Saturday. That was entertaining.
Yeah, but it's a lot better to find it in a safe way when it's not, oh my God. And then you're not excited to be alive afterwards. You don't need the poop hole for those kind of
And
times.
that was kind of how it was going. Is we started with turn 1 and we worked on some corrections through turn 1. Turn 2 he actually had down pretty rock solid. Turn 3 was it's very dependent on your exit of turn 2. Turn 4 he was turning a little early. We really got that set up, and I think that's what led to the poop moment, because now he's coming out of turn 4 a lot faster, and then that enters into turn 5, and the call I got was, "Wow, so that was a spin. I'm just going to take these next couple of laps, to myself, if that's all right. Just, kind of settle my brain a little." And
Smart.
so I stopped
Been there.
talking for a couple of laps.
Not on a spin, on like well, that was too close for comfort. I think I'll take a lap off and wiggle my fingers a little.
Or you claim to be Senna, and then one lap later you're cut the grass all
That never
the
bothered
way
me. I was
out
never bothered
there.
by that. It did
Okay.
not scare me one bit. It was at 1 mile an hour. I'm in the grass.
I did also miss a few corners on Saturday and did some lawn mowing. That didn't bother me at all. As long I was like, is the car okay? All right, cool. But my spin on Saturday was pretty entertaining. So turns 4 and 5 are like linked at Hallett, and 4 is like a long like right hander, and then 5 follows immediately afterwards. It's a left hander over a crest, like the track drops away from you after you get around after the apex. I think that's fair, right? And so like I had a really good line in the 4, and I carried a ton of speed into 5, and I was like, oh, too much speed, and I lifted just a little bit, and the back just it just spit me
Snapped.
off.
Yeah.
And I was
Well,
pretty-
and
yeah.
we have another car, an RX-7, which is built by the same homeless man. Not built by, but managed by the same homeless man that managed the TR and turned it into an absolute wreck. That, it was set up for sprint racing, and it wasn't set up for endurance racing. And it was very twitchy, and it had to be dialed back. Like, it may not set as fast a lap, but it will be much more survivable.
right.
So, like they're, and I'm going to point to Mental here because he's driven our cars. Was the Maserati too knife edged
No,
for endurance racing? No.
not at all.
Okay.
Any mistakes. And, I had a minor off track excursion, and I want to say Craig had a minor one too, because I remember pulling grass off of it, one of his pit stops. Those were all self-induced. The car itself is actually just, it's very highly intelligent people just literally tried to solve every equation. If Chris built a Maserati, this is what it would look like. Actually, if Chris built a
It was pretty
Maserati,
sexy looking.
if Chris built a Maserati and then turned the engine management over to his buddy who's given him the Corvette, this is
Like
what
Hamza.
I will say that
Yeah.
props to my family and Dwayne, especially like the development of this car over the last 4, 5, 10 years, whatever it's been, has been amazing. Because the first time I drove it, it was not like this. Like there was a ton of, especially under braking, it was terrifying. It would, at Road America was the first time I drove it, and coming into turn 1 at Road America, you'd hit the brakes and it would just go places, just wherever.
That's only a little terrifying because you're going very fast after. You have to slow down after going very fast. Yes.
Yeah, it's like 120 miles an hour at into turn 1 at Road America, and it would just wander very quickly all over the place, and then it would have these weird handling characteristics where you would have like a super sharp turn in, and then understeer, and then crazy oversteer on the exit. So it was just a little bit of everything in every corner. And now it's like Mental said, it's super predictable, and all the mistakes were, problem existed between keyboard and chair.
Yeah. And the Dwayne, the crew chief, actually forced everyone to go through. He had several different settings that he wanted you to work through on Friday during the practice to get everybody used to it, to the power delivery. And so he, in addition to managing the car, he was managing the drivers very well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know it's down there. Does anybody want to ask about the team?
I was just doing that, but I was on mute.
Sorry.
Tell us more about the team. Like, we know there's the guy who's really fast. We know there's you guys. There's Dwayne managing everybody. What's the whole layout of the team like?
So the heart of the team right now is really Dwayne. So one funny story is my dad and his brother are kind of the history of the ownership of the cars is runs through them, and they have been kind of the sole like founding members of the team throughout this whole thing. It's my dad's car, and Craig has been a team member since it started, and he knows his way around that car. He knows like his obscure little knowledge about every little part about that car. The thing,
Not bashful at all about jumping under the hood with a wrench, even in his driver's suit.
No, not at all.
Don't wrench in the suit. That's
The
just
thing,
messes
though,
your suit up.
about brothers being on a racing team.
Oh,
is that-
I'm on a racing team with my brother. I'm about to fucking agree. And he's listening right now on YouTube. I can see you, Jim. I can see you. Go on. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. Is that, it's good to have a third person who's not related to you to tell you what to do, because if it's left to the two brothers to tell everyone else what to do, they're going to disagree, and then they're going to shout contradictory information at you.
I mean, when's the last time Jim and Jeff yelled contradictory information? Can't even remember.
No,
literally,
in fact, it's great.
The first race I did with them, Dwayne was not in the picture yet, and our average pit stop was like 14 minutes because the car
That's not a way to win.
No, the car would stop, and then my dad and my uncle would start shouting instructions to the crew as the car was coming to a stop. And they didn't agree because, of course, they didn't. They're brothers, and they don't ever agree. And so everyone was just running around like crazy. And now there's, to my dad's credit, he's a very like type A personality, wants to be in charge of things. But he says when the car comes off the trailer, it's Dwayne's car, and he's in charge, and whatever he says goes. Doesn't always take his own advice.
We have given this piece of advice a long time ago about having specific roles on the race team.
Yes.
For people who do what. And it's especially important when you have a lot of arrive-in drives to be like, look, I need you kind of focusing on X, or I need you focusing on Y. And when we have multiple cars, we have to have like, okay, so you're the, head wrench on that, and you're the gas guy, and you're the tactics guy. So that way we all know who's doing what.
Yeah, it's super important, because otherwise, because I know like my instinct, and I know Mental's instinct too, is to like, you see something that needs to be done and you want to jump in and help, but sometimes it's not what needs to happen. And sometimes you just have to let the personalities just sort themselves out and let them do. Like, I know when we were packing the car up, my dad, at that point, the car was in the trailer, so it's no longer Dwayne's, and so the arguing resumes. And and Mental was like, we should be helping, and I was like, just take a pause. Let's just wait. Let them finish the argument.
Yeah,
and then we can help.
And just the tone, it's something you can't fake. The tone in his voice was one of deep psychological traumatic experience that says, I am about to save you so much therapy. Just stand here, drink your drink. It'll be fine.
Trouble.
Well, we always describe Mental as full of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
So
more
and he's also
more enthusiasm.
Well, or follow through. But you also know this stuff needs to be.
Whoa. From the left, shots fired.
Sorry,
Okay.
you already saying it. That's what I was just finishing. I'm sorry.
She's not lying.
Okay, fine. If we didn't tell you that to your face, I apologize if we say that behind your back. But
I'm
now I
pretty
have,
sure
so
we have.
whatever.
Yeah, we definitely have.
Okay, good. But he also knows he knows better than to stand around in our paddock, because nobody stands around in our paddock. You best be doing something. Somebody's always like, if you're standing there, clean something up. chances are there's beer bottles from last night sitting on the counter. It's over there. Throw them
Strong
away.
chance. Very strong.
Do
chance.
something. So when he goes into your paddock, he's like, all right, what do I do? Because he knows that people don't.
We
stand
just
around
jump in.
our
We're
place.
okay with people jumping in. Rarely does anyone have a problem with anybody jumping in on our team.
I now have a question about this. So talk to me about, I don't have a ton of experience racing outside of my family's team. Talk to me about crankiness level, about like putting things back incorrectly in like the trailer or the toolbox. Like what's the, how,
I think we
do
usually
they
just
appreciate that you took the effort to put something back, or is it like you didn't know where that,
we would
you didn't
usually
read
I
my
think
mind?
yeah, I think a lot of times if you're not sure where it came from, put it like on the workbench or like in the door of the trailer, but don't try to put it in the final place unless you know that's where it came from. Like unless you pulled it from there.
Especially if
Because-
sometimes we commingle. So we'll put a whole bunch of things and somebody will say like, this doesn't look like your wrench. And I'll be like, no, that's it. So you just keep a whole pile of it until you figure out where it goes. And then
There is
somebody else will
usually
put it
a
away.
designated place where this goes here if you don't know where it goes. But Chrissy's
On the floor.
favorite, it goes to floor. Chrissy's favorite phrase is, "What are you looking for?"
Because
can't
she
stand people
packs.
rummaging. She can't stand people.
I
rummaging.
can't stand rummaging, kid. I'll tell you what, because you're wasting time by just looking through every drawer. Just ask me what you're looking for. I know. Sorry, not sorry. That's how it goes.
Ian,
a
let me
rummager.
say,
Rummager.
I appreciate anyone that puts the tools back in the general area, but I am a mess. I mean, look at my, you can't see my desk from here, but it's a total mess.
Do you say that you have Wakeman problems?
But no, I'm not saying Wakeman problems. But what I'm saying
that
is
box got checked the 3 times
Yeah.
he's dropped out of this feed, I think.
Yeah, that's true. But I want to put my tools away so that I know that they all got into my box.
Okay.
So like all of my things are labeled so I know if there's a wrench missing or a socket missing. So I would never yell at someone for putting my tools away, but I would go back and rearrange just like I do when my wife loads the dishwasher.
So you're passive aggressive about it, is what you're saying.
Not passive aggressive, just like I have to go look. It's all
Yeah.
good.
I will say, so this is the pitfall of doing a team with your family. It's like I got scolded this weekend for putting wire cutters back in the drawer that was labeled pliers, snips, and cutters instead of the drawer that was labeled wire cutters.
Oh no.
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 I let's have some court here. Order in the court. Please raise your hand if you think Ian was right.
I think it's a very reasonable thing to do. Yeah.
It was the first one I saw that said the word cutters on it, so I was like, okay, this is where they go.
The drawer that I have is actually labeled that as and it says pliers and stuff. So it would have been right.
Yeah, it's not like it's Homps's pit where it's labeled anal probes and sunshine sticks.
I mean, those boxes really, he does have sunshine sticks. They're not labeled that, but that's awesome. But he does have boxes full of stuff that don't make sense. So there's that too.
All right, what's next? I lost track. What question didn't we get to yet? Are we ready to go to rust removal, or are there more questions about the trip?
I think
I
we're
do
on
think-
rush removal.
I think Chrissy should just for everyone to have a good takeaway, her basics there.
Oh, well,
Wait,
I'm going to
we're not there yet.
removal.
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Intro
All
to
right,
rest
so
room.
Ian, we heard that you were looking for tips, and we thought about 2 different ways of giving you tips because we don't really know a ton, but what we do know is this
How to
this
do
weird
it
thing.
wrong. We know how to do it wrong.
We know how to do it wrong. We know endurance racing, and we know like it's a different thing than a lot of the things that you've done. Because we're going to probably start here, but you said you hadn't been on track for a very long time. It was a new Maserati, and it was a new track for you. So we love to help new people get better. So we took a flyer without really knowing what your concerns were, and we wrote some tips and tricks. So, but why don't you first tell us? You told us about some of the concerns, so I'll review. New car, new track. Rain was definitely a concern, and maybe some handling characteristics. So, what was your mindset going in? Give us the baseline.
Yeah, so going in, it had been 4 years since I've been in a race car, so that was number one. So like getting like the gear all set, and had to like refresh my helmet and all that sort of stuff. So I got all that done, and then getting there, like I said, the car was totally different from the last time I drove it. So going into the car, I was really nervous about it because it's a definitely different handling characteristic even now than what I'm used to. But like before, it was very like pointy, which is kind of intimidating when you're just like when you're a novice driver. Like I've done a half dozen maybe endurance races and then track days, and that's it. Like I've never had any like instruction of any sort. So just sort of learning as I go. And so it was like I was just nervous, so
And you definitely don't want to wad up your father's like fantastic car.
No, because not only would I feel guilty, but then I would have to hear about it
at every Christmas and
rest of my
Thanksgiving.
life.
Oh, not even
eternity.
every day.
Yeah, like I say, if he yelled at you about wire cutters, you're just going to get a random text, a picture of a wrecked race car.
Just sadness, just like sad emojis over and over again.
Right. But also my family's fairly competitive. I'm sure, Pencil, you got that from the vibe. So, it's a competitive thing. So I don't want to be slow, and I don't want to ruin the race. I don't want to ruin a chance of winning. So there's that.
So there's a lot of pressure.
Was that the understanding that this was going to be a competitive weekend where you were going to go for it, or was this like, hey, we're just having fun?
No, fun.
Competitive weekend.
Competitive. Yes.
Yes.
Next
We have
time
friends
you talk to my dad,
and I could actually shed some non-relative light on this. I think Ian has to go take care of something real quick. And you talk about, they, the Peterson family is very Midwestern. Their default countenance is smiles. They're just, they're nice people. If you showed up at their house, you're going to get, Jell-O salad out the yin yang. And I think we even talked about how when one of his relatives passed away, there was an entire table at the church of nothing but Jell-O salad. So they're very, very nice, happy, polite, wonderful people.
Was there loose meat sandwiches? I always wanted a loose meat sandwich.
Not at the track, but I'm sure that they know a place down there. But in this very, Midwestern, no harsh, words kind of a deal, on Sunday, Eric came over to me and said, I want a trophy. I want a podium. And this is as it is. Wow. I'm standing outside trying to get, my head onto the track. It's pouring down rain. And he goes, I expect a trophy. So it wasn't like angry competitive, but it was just kind of this, the expectations were very clearly laid out that if the car was running, it was expected to run.
And that's Ian's dad, Eric.
Correct.
Yes.
It was expected to run quickly.
We've been calling him your dad since. I just wanted to make sure the podcast listeners
right.
knew who we were talking about when he said Eric said. So the expectation was we're gonna effing win.
Yeah.
Well, or come close. Yeah. I mean, or we want that's the goal, right? It's not. I don't think we really expected to be on the podium, honestly, on Sunday, because we were managing so many things. Bentel did. I knew
we could catch the Mustang. If it rained, I knew we had it.
Well, and that was one thing that actually helped. The rain in the long, like looking back, as like kind of challenging as it was in that stint, and for mental stint, I'm sure it was challenging too. Like, the rain helped us because we were so down on power. If it had stayed dry, there's no way we would have gotten a podium. There's no way, because the other thing was that the other teams, I was like, it was interesting to watch. I talked to Mental about this during the weekend. Like you could really see people's body language through the car sometimes, and to watch some of the other teams' body language as you're following them around in the rain was really interesting. Like especially like the some of the Mustangs just staying on the same line that they had been running in the dry, and still just tail hanging way out, like on it. Was crazy. It was insane because I don't know. I was hunting for grip everywhere I could find it, and they were just like, I don't know, just stay on the same line.
Yeah.
Yes.
It should be mentioned, our class was literally all Mustangs, one Firebird, us.
Yeah, and then there was like an EC Mustang. Like I don't know if you know this, but the rain started during a full course yellow when I was in the car, and I was behind this very, very cheaty like 2005 Mustang that showed up at the track, and the flag went green on the last corner, and he dropped it like immediately, just spun it right off the track as soon as the green flag dropped right in front of me. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm gonna die, because they were so much faster than us.
He did what Mustangs do.
Yeah.
So
don't worry about them.
I'm going to open the floor to whoever has some tips and tricks for someone trying to knock the rust off.
I said kind of this before, but it's true. Don't try to set the world on fire your first time out. Don't try to prove you haven't lost anything. No one in the team is going to appreciate when you spin the car off or break something because you're trying to be a hero. Everyone's going to appreciate that it comes back in one piece and you're doing reasonable lap time. So build up gradually, stick to that 80%. If you find time you can push a little bit, great, do it. And something you were just talking about, I think was a great point, is you said you could start to see people's attitudes through their cars, which is so true. Spend some of that time driving at 80%, learning who's out there this weekend. Who do I have to worry about? Who is fine? Who I'm just going to go by and not think about? Who just has their head up their ass? And that will help you in the rest of the weekend to stay out of trouble. So that's a great way to go.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, because there was definitely a list that I had going in my head of like, if I see them in my mirror, it's just an immediate point by and lift. Because I just don't want to even deal with you.
Asshole out of my way.
Please go away.
Especially winners and the people that are just going to be more aggressive. They want to get around you as fast as you want them to be around you. So
there's the fast cars, and then the people that think they are the fast cars.
That's
the second group is much more dangerous than the first. The first ones that go by you without you don't even know where they're there, and all of a sudden, oh, okay, and then they are, and the other ones are the problem. Yeah,
Mental,
you're
on
you're on mute
if
you wanted to say something.
Because they planned that pass 2 turns ago. They knew exactly where they were going to get around you.
Oh yeah.
Actually, that was one of my pieces of advice, and I'm going to jump on it since Metal brought it up. Knowing that you're a track day guy and have done a lot more track day recently, in a lot of track day, I think the mentality is catch up to the person, then plan your pass if it's a slower person.
Because they're going to point you by, duh.
And I think that's a tactical mindset that does not work in endurance racing. In endurance racing, you have to be much more cognizant of planning passes at different parts of the track for different people. So once you know that you're going to be able to pass that Miata, you also have to know that, but they were good at that turn and bad at that turn. Yeah. So looking at the also in track day, you look at the track, you race the track, you look at your apexes and your exits and your entrances, and you're constantly thinking, how do I do this turn as best as possible? That's sometimes not the right thing to do in endurance racing. It's catch that person leaving this turn instead of entering this turn, because I know I will leave better than him. So I can let off now so that I pass him where he's weak.
Then you also need to add in the faster horsepower, more horsepower cars and faster corner cars, right? So if you're going to go through a corner, you need to know that I can't, if my next car that I want to pass, there's a short straight and they're a Mustang or they're a full, a car that can go get ahead of you down the street, you're going to have a harder time getting around them in a corner because, just depending on what kind of cars around you too.
Yeah. It's a lot more chessy. It's a lot more multiple moves.
Chessy.
Yes. Like chess, Chrissy. I'm sorry.
It's a word that you made up. Yeah.
Yes, mental. I'm going to call on people now.
Usually we just point. Yeah.
So yeah, Chris put this in there, and I don't know if he was going to get to it in a bit, but he says work up to speed, not down. And then we put in there, don't begin by focusing on your lap times, because it's not a healthy measure. If you can, not so much an obsession with your time, but being able to do the same times, because that makes you predictable and that helps with strategy. Getting up to speed, learning the track, learning the car. But going from Friday when we were doing the practice session, and then by Sunday, even in the weather, you were faster in the wet on Sunday than you were Friday in the dry. What do you think was your biggest gain?
Mostly confidence, honestly, and knowing the track. Like just knowing where the track went. I don't think I was faster. I don't think my lap times were faster. I think I was. Well, I think I was looking back at them, I looked at they published the lap times, and after the rain started, I think my best time was like a 2:07.
Pouring rain doesn't count. Drizzle, yeah.
Right, yeah. Yeah. So, I would say, like, as a relation to the rest of the team, for sure, I was definitely closer to everybody when I was in the wet than, because I think my best time in the wet was a 2:07, which is like a second or two off of what you were. And then I think in the dry, I was like 6 or 7 seconds off, something like that.
You got into
but
the
that was the day
137s.
prior.
Yeah. Well, you'd gotten in the 137s on Sunday in the dry early in your stint.
Right.
Before it started sputtering. And that was about 5 seconds off what your uncle and I were running.
Yeah. So, I'm still, those 5 seconds are frustrating for sure. But
I feel like,
but I feel good about it.
But also, like, you shouldn't feel bad about that. There's plenty of times where I'm like, I'm doing that and I've been driving consistently for 10 years. And so I feel like there's plenty of tracks or days, and I don't know. I don't worry. Like what Mantle just said, like, don't worry about the track times, especially if you're trying to figure out how to go. All right. So I'm going to jump in because Mantle skipped over me. So I'll go. So here's some back to basics that I think are a good thing to, they're actually something that I do every time I get in the race car. So actually I had not been in a race car for a good, not almost a year, but I hadn't been in since August and got back in April. So, a good long time. But every time you get in, it's just like all the things you said that you do when you get in. So you have to say like, oh, this is how my helmet fits. And, oh, here's how my suit fits. Like, I think all of us had suit problems when we got in our suits. Anyway, they're like, oh, my quads are a little bigger than they were before. Anyway, so
COVID gut.
Right. Something like that. So what I'm trying to say is when you get in the car, you have to remember all the things that you used to remember. So one of my favorite things is make a mantra. So if you are doing a corner well, one of my mantras, especially at Pittsburgh, was modulating the gas. I used to sing a little song about modulating the gas. Instead of braking in corners that you don't need to, I just sang a song about modulating the gas instead. So things to remind yourself of what you're supposed to do. Eyes up is one of my biggest things. I will go around for, even especially like at a testing day, I'll go around for the first time and I'll realize I'm looking at each apex, looking at the track. I'm trying to figure out where the marbles are. I'm looking down and all of a sudden I'm just like, oh, I should be looking around at cars, corners, flag stations, right? You just have to remember that is one of those things that is very important, but sometimes it takes a couple laps before you remember that that's what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Figuring out where the bumpers of the cars are and making sure that you're looking through traffic and brake lights. And, there's just a lot that you should be looking around and reminding yourself that you're supposed to be doing those things.
Turbo power.
Yep. Turbo power. We do that too.
I just want to mention that Chrissy's not the only one with mantras. I also sing songs. This is not a weird thing. Mine are sometimes different. They're usually like, go later, go later, go later now. Turn, don't go now. So
Some of mine are screaming at myself. There's that too. But
Yeah.
yes, I think it's
I didn't sing until Chrissy started telling us that she sang, and now, despite my best efforts, I catch myself singing in the car. There was they were pitted next to us, Miata, and early on the day on Saturday, we were faster than him, but I was just not as aggressive because it's the first stint. And he got around me, and as we're going down the straightaway, I remember singing, "You won't make this stick," and I got back around him again.
That was when we were talking about, you could see the attitude of the driver through the car, because I was watching Mental stint from the grandstand, and there's a great spot at Hallett where you can watch turn 9, which is a crazy, like there's like a chicane that immediately precedes it, that you can kind of, like, if you get it right, you just go through. It's blind, and you just like mat it through there, and then use the chicane as your braking point, and then you go up the hill out of 9.
Off camber, uphill, right hand turn.
It's fun. And I could see there was him and that Miata like dicing for like half a lap before that, and you can see half the track from where I was sitting. And there was a 240 in front of them that was having all sorts of adventures off the track. And they had another adventure right at turn 9, right in front of where I was sitting. And you could see the two cars, it was Mental and the Miata, you know, as the 240 was off having its adventure, the Miata was like, my chance, and like pounced, right? And Mental was just like, I'm going to sit this one out. Like, you could just see it happen. And, you know, just from the body language of the car. And then the 240 comes back on the track, and because Mental had lifted, the 240 and Mental were now side by side going into the final turn that leads onto like the longest straight of the track. And the attitude of the car, of the Maserati, just completely changes. And it's just like, motherfucker, no, like, we're not doing this. You were in the grass 10 seconds ago. This is mine now. It was hilarious.
I love that. The attitude of the car is exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about who's who and who drives what and who does what. And yeah, I mean, you cannot win an endurance race in one turn, but you can sure as hell lose it.
For sure.
And sometimes the better part of valor is lifting and going, go ahead, you can have this one. I'll get it back.
Right.
Yeah. Someone else jump in with something. Mental's got dogs going.
Sorry.
Can I say one thing that I noticed about my own driving on Sunday?
Yeah.
So I realized, I was talking about, like, a large part of my stint was like futzing with stuff. And I was like, I need to take like a couple laps to just like head down and like concentrate on actually driving the track. And I realized that I was doing this thing where I had the important points of the track like kind of mapped out in my head, of like, I need to really concentrate on doing this thing here.
Yeah, you hit that apex brake at this place.
Right. That's that stuff, and around the corners. And I realized as I was like doing that, I was going through my rhythm of that I was just like driving to those places without thinking about it. And I was like not being flat in places where I could be flat, and just like losing time, even in just like corners where I was like, oh, this corner's not as important. And I wasn't like concentrating on it because I was like getting ready to think about the next one. So I don't know I need to work on that, like figuring out where I'm just like driving to a place instead of like attacking the place that I'm going to.
That's interesting. I talk a lot about segments, like thinking about segments, you know, like don't think about the whole track, think about this 3-turn combo.
Right.
And don't think about this, think about this, you know, like where you said where the S's and the left and all that, you know, like thinking about them together, and then just where you matted in between, you know. But I don't know the track enough to really know what, you know, how to do it. Go ahead, Mental.
And that was one of the things we ended up talking about on the radio. He would come down the main straightaway, and turn 1, when you've got it, you've got it. It's not excessively complicated. It just takes a little faith in the car. But he was thinking already about turn 2 or going down the straightaway. So there would be this audible lift, then the brakes. And, you know, no, dude, you're on the gas till this marker, then brakes. And that immediately was a 2-second gain. and it still gave him the time, but you do kind of get lost in thought, and it's important to think ahead, but you still have to remember where you are.
And I think a lot of people who don't endurance race don't think about getting lost in your mind or getting lost on the track, or, take a lap off. Like there's no SCCA like sprint racer who would ever take a lap off, but sometimes you need to do that to reset yourself in an endurance race.
Yeah.
I feel like we could go on this for hours. But
I was going to say, anybody have any last points before we move on?
Just one quick one. Chris was talking about, learning the teams. Even though you know the team, you may not know the car. What do they do to the car? Did they go and do some driver's training? Battle Scarred was out there with one of their Crown Vics, Chesty. And instead of having the 100 drivers that they rotate through, they brought four of their regular guys. They lost second gear on Friday. In a giant Crown Vic with no second gear, they matched our best time in the Maserati. And in the wet, I watched that car take me on the inside and then pull me for a half a lap. And we had kind of written them off as a great fun team, but not really wheelmen. And no, all of the folks that they brought with them were wheelmen, and they were skilled. They were good. They got that big Crown Vic around, and they were still being battle scarred, having a good time. So if you've been away for a while, you may not know everything that's going on. So be open to learning.
That car was amazing to watch in the wet.
Yeah, I love that.
Like, it would start to slide, and then they would have it was the exact opposite of our car, where everything happens very quickly. And, they would have a minute of sliding. It was hilarious.
It's like, I know I'm going to crash in this turn. It's coming. Checks in the mail. Here it comes.
Oh, no, but they're
hope
like,
I can catch it.
They're like, I'm going to go ahead and induce this slide. Check the radio. Wonder what's for dinner tonight. And the slide's going to catch right here perfectly at the apex. All throttle. Yeah, here we go.
It was
cool. Great.
Awesome. Can I say one last thing about our team that I think was cool, was that because everybody either had never been to the track before or had never been in the car before, we were all very open about sharing information. And that was a huge benefit. I know it was to me, just sharing info about the track and sharing info about the car, and watch yourself here when it gets greasy or whatever. And there was no one we were kind of lightly jostling. There was some light jostling for fastest lap time, but it wasn't to the point of I'm not going to share information with you, which was cool.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of baseline for our team. And shout out to Chris, even though he may think every idea is his. That's a callback from earlier.
Thank you. That's what that's called.
Yeah,
okay,
you're welcome. Okay. But Chris has always set the tone that we are always instructing each other, and everyone can learn from everyone, and every moment is a moment for improvement. So it doesn't matter what we're doing. It doesn't matter how many times we've been there. We always do a group track walk, and it doesn't matter who's leading who or who's talking about who. If we're in that thing and I say, oh, Chris, I'm kind of feeling here, even though he knows he's faster than me, he listens to what I have to say and we talk it out. There is never a time where we are ever hiding information from each other, or I want Mental to beat my time, even though it pisses me off when he beats my time. I want him to beat my time if he is after me, because that means we've improved.
Same.
Yeah. All the way back to standing at the pit wall at Summit Point as we'd go by, holding the sign up. This was before we had radios. We just had a whiteboard and we write rude messages to each other with the lap time from the last time, just to keep pushing each other. It was fun. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That definitely happened many times.
Yeah, and we definitely don't mind. I mean, a good-natured ribbing is always possible, and I know you go faster. That sucked. Get your ass moving. That's
do not pit.
Yeah, do not pit. Well, that's all. Do not pit is real. I'm saying all the other stuff is not. Is just making fun. But yeah, if you're not instructing each other as a team as you go through, you're missing an opportunity to improve everybody's time.
Yeah.
Awesome. Have we got everything? Anything else for the good of the order before we move on? It's time for, I'm sorry, Ian, you're not going to get just the tip from Chrissy tonight.
Oh,
Because we have a hella sweet or a but terrible, which, if in case you haven't listened to the show, and it's been a while, I think we've done one of these, where somebody brings up an idea that they have, and we go around the podcast, and everybody gets to say whether they are being an idiot or whether that's a pretty good idea. All right. So I am in the hot seat tonight. I have a hella sweet or but terrible. If you haven't been following along, I'm about to sell my mighty 2012 Mazda 3.
Now with
because
clean
I'm
headlights.
tired of it. It is 180,000 miles.
Smells like
before
soup.
It's no, I wouldn't. Yes, it does. By the weekend, it won't. And before that, I had a Mazda Protege 5 with 225,000 miles. So it's 300,000 miles and basically the same car. And I want something faster. And I want a Veloster N, but they're impossible to find. Chris, is there anything worse than a Nissan? Is there any decision that I could be thinking about?
a
That would be-
Mitsubishi.
That's what I was
No,
going to say.
I would not go in there.
You just asked if there's anything worse. We just gave you one.
What Nissan
I'm
are you
gonna
thinking about
drive.
getting?
Any.
No, I'm not.
No, not all of them are terrible.
No, this is where I'm going to start the fight, and it's going to
I
be
was going to say
between,
Kia.
it's going to be between Chris and Ian. I'm going to drive a GTI. Is this a hella sweet idea or a but terrible idea? Around the table, am I
Ian goes
crazy
first.
for even thinking Volkswagen is a good choice?
No, but it's not hella sweet or but terrible because it's a Volkswagen, so it's inherently neither of those things. And a
And
little
both.
bit boring.
Oh, this is great. You're such a great salesman. I love this.
Right?
This is-
Like it's not. It's,
oh, this is
And for
great.
those who might not listen to your podcast, what do you have? You have in
I have a Volkswagen
2000
R32,
it's a
2004.
4. Okay, I was going to try and think which generation it was. And
Yeah.
He has
04
two. He has two
R32.
Volkswagens. He has two
I do have
Volkswagens.
two. I do have two Volkswagens.
Yes. Doesn't your like wife or you daily drive like a wagon of some sort, a long roof for life?
Yeah, we have a Volkswagen all-track. But I'm coming down off of not a not boring car as a family car. And so I needed something boring. This is my rebound from a 2008 Saab Turbo X wagon, which was rare and fast and cool
And full of
broken
personality.
all the time.
And you're
Your
saying that the
R32 is
Volkswagen
not?
is an improvement of broken down all the time.
Oh, absolutely. It has a warranty. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
did. It
It has
doesn't now, does it?
All right,
Well,
so
the all-track does. The,
Oh, okay,
the-
okay, okay,
the
okay.
2004 is just that goes to the mountains in the winter to take me snowboarding and do drifty drifts, and then it goes to the track, and that's pretty much it.
so you're saying drive the GTI and contemplate it.
Yeah, but there's more fun options, right? I mean, you could get a Fiesta ST. You could get a
Oh,
could
you
get-
obviously haven't been listening to this.
I drove
this
no, I haven't driven a
train here.
Fiesta ST. I drove a Focus ST and I hated it.
Yeah,
Try, well,
Fiesta's
try
a
the
different
Fiesta.
car.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
totally different car. And there's also the Kia, I can never remember, but basically there's a Kia like competitor to the GTI. It's not as fast, but you can get it with a stick. And I drove it on a track at a press event, and it was hilarious. Like it does like lift off oversteer and the whole thing. It's the Kia, whatever, the hatchback GT is entertaining.
So I just got to check. Do all of your Windows switches work in your Volkswagen?
Right now?
Yes.
Yes.
It's the Kia
Check engine light
Rio.
on.
Oh,
The Kia Rio hatchback.
All right. I'm going to say I really want a GTI to be a good car. Like, because they're nice to drive. They look good. I just feel like I cannot trust it. And you are the biggest Volkswagen, like, joker of all. Anytime any of our
Oh.
friends are like, their Volkswagen's great, you're like, oh, yeah, it's your window switches. How's this? How's that? Right? realistically, you just need to not buy anything until this craziness settles down. You need to drive the Corvette all summer, which real hardship, huh?
Yeah.
Drive the
Drove it to
Corvette
work
all
today.
summer. Right. And okay, there you go. And then
It's not like you don't have things to drive.
Yeah. When this ridiculousness calms down, you get what you actually want instead of compromising again.
So wait, so hold on. You have a Corvette. So this is so you have a fun car. I'm assuming you have a family car.
Let's talk about
my wife
all
has
the
a
cars.
Corvette. This is the trouble. There's something wrong with the Corvette is every time I'm driving and I put my foot down on the gas, over here in the passenger seat, I hear, "Don't wreck my car." And so that's
we can
the problem.
solve that
So,
though by
it
taking
sounds
you to
like-
a track night.
You don't need to buy yourself a car. You need to buy your wife a car.
She has a Subaru.
Yeah, she's got a Subaru.
Well,
She's
you
got
need to buy your wife a faster car.
If that's what
That
she
was not
wants,
wrong.
though, like she
Don't
didn't
know.
buy.
She's
Well, the
very
backstory is
happy.
she didn't buy the Corvette, so she
inherited
inherited
the
she inherited the Corvette. So it's not that she wants to go
Yes.
fast.
It's actually don't wreck my mother's car is what I hear from the passenger
Yeah.
seat.
Oh, so you're driving your mother-in-law's Corvette. Got it.
Pretty much, yes. I had
More
130
confused than when we started.
down the Atlantic City Expressway with a 27 Mustang GT. That was fantastic. But anyway,
Yeah, I think don't buy anything now. It's a terrible time to buy a car. You're going to overpay. It's awful. That's why you're selling now and you have other stuff. You're going to get to work just fine and do all your errands just fine in the Corvette and the truck and you'll be no problem. Great. Yeah, you're spend a little more on gas, but who cares? It's going to more than make up for the fact that you're not buying in the heat of a market.
Doesn't the Z have a title? Can't you put tags on the Z?
it doesn't have headlights or directional signals.
It just needs headlights put back in. They'll bolt back in. It left all the wires.
Or put,
There you go, but-
driving lights on
no
it.
turners.
Just put driving lights on it.
I just think don't buy anything right now.
Don't
You know
buy
what you
anything.
want. You know what you want.
I do.
Get it.
I do.
Get it when the time is right to get it. Don't
Ian, I
force
test
it.
drove one and it is fantastic. If you can find one in a press fleet or if you get a chance,
A Veloster.
the Veloster N is
I-
pretty damn amazing.
I want to drive one so bad. It looks so cool.
Yeah.
I want one.
All right, Mental Chrissy, any changes and
Just-
thoughts here?
One last thing.
I
though.
have a thought, but yeah, go ahead, Chris.
One last thing. Your automotive lifestyle is not conducive to a European car.
Oh yeah, I don't change the oil. I don't do any like
Maintenance at all.
I don't wash
doesn't
them.
do
Any
yeah,
care
no,
of it, right?
no.
Yeah.
This is why you're spoiled by Mazdas that have just been like, yeah, whatever. And they just work for 250,000 miles. That's not European car lifestyle. And I know from experience. You're
Facts.
not gonna it's not
Mm,
gonna
these are
end
some
well.
some heavy truths.
I will say my R32 has been pretty reliable. Pretty-
You're
gonna
not.
say,
You're
I
not
bet-
Jeff. You're not Jeff at all.
This is the problem is there are enough VW people out there who are like Eric the 914 lover who's like, no, my Audi A4's been fine. 250,000 miles on it, you know.
Eric 130, but Eric maintains his cars very well and takes good care of them. And is very nice to them. He doesn't
Yep.
spill soup in them. There's all
I
kinds
And,
of nice
and,
things.
and should he cleans it. There are no
Yes.
fast food bags filling the back
I-
seat and front
I'm-
seat.
no.
It's
and
because he hasn't been
hatchback
over to our
and
house.
Not
trunk.
lately.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why I just can't recommend a European car for you. I just
Yeah.
can't.
Chrissy.
I'm trying not to go along with Chris, but I am also I was in those stupid leadership classes that I attend because I have to, and today we talked about rational decision making in a general sense, and so the guy that was talking was going back and forth, and his example was buying a car actually, and so he's trying to say like what kind of important family life decision are you making, and he kept coming back to making buying a car. And I kept thinking about just how true it is for the cars that we've bought. So we said, we went through how many wagons. We didn't even talk on this podcast about how long and much of discussion we had on trying to just figure out if the Mercedes wagon was the E400 was the right one for us. So all of that, picking your criteria, figuring out your alternatives, blah, blah, blah. I know that's textbook stuff, but it's all these things that you're like, well, why settle? Why just jump to the alternatives when you've already figured out what you want? Because then you're going to end up with it. And then you're going to be like, this car sucks in like 2 or 3 years. If you already know what you want, then just wait for what you want. Like,
it's not
that's
like
what
you totaled the only car you have.
That's true, which is how I ended up in the Mazda 3 is I totaled the Protege 5.
And now a couple of years later, you're annoyed and want to get something new. And if you need something, then
180,009 years later, but that's okay.
Yep. So mine is also to wait.
Go ahead, Mental.
So I'm going to offer a difference of opinion, but I'm going to agree with everyone else. Go drive the Volkswagen. Absolutely drive it. And then also drive that Kia that Ian was talking about, and go drive that the Toyota Corolla hatchback, the sport version that they offer with a manual transmission as well. Drive all of those, because the absolute best case scenario is it firms up your belief that you want the Veloster in. Worst case is you add some different criteria. Go drive the cars. Absolutely. The GTIs are actually the ones that are made in Germany at the Wolfsburg plant. So their build quality is notably better from everything I've read on the internet. The internet would never lie. But Chris is 100% right. Even a well-built German car is not a Jeff kind of car. And you do need something Korean, Japanese that you can just neglect. I'm not convinced your next car is going to be as neglected. I think you're going to, especially if it's what you want, you're going to take care of it. So go drive
for
the
a little
car.
while.
Yeah, go drive the car. But everything Chris says is 100% accurate, and do not settle. That's just life advice. You are a professional. You have gone to a lot of school. You have worked hard. You have gotten promoted. You take your job very seriously. You take care of your family. You take care of your life. You deserve what you want. Get what you want. Don't settle because you don't need a car.
Don't buy a car. Advice around the table. I love this. This is like a car podcast, but don't go buy something.
This is a level of
thank you
earnestness
all.
that I'm
This
just
is
very uncomfortable with. But I appreciate it.
Oh, speaking up, I'm glad he said something. We usually ask our guests to pimp their social medias, and how do people get a hold of you? What do you do here?
It's a little early for the music, Jeff, but
I know. I was going. I'm sorry.
Apex adjacent on all the media's social, and we're on the YouTubes and things. And then also check out my dad's race team, Dead Pedal Racing. They're on the Facebook, and they have a website, deadpedalracing.net. So do that. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you guys are my favorite woke snowflakes on the internet right now.
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate that. We got a 1-star review saying they didn't want to listen to woke snowflakes with less car knowledge than my dog and the one that doesn't care about cars. So that
as if he had multiple dogs.
One of them cares about cars.
One of the dogs cares about cars, but you know less than the dog that doesn't care about.
Because all my dogs are pretty much gearheads. They like the Mercedes way better than the Volvo.
Yeah. So
Thanks for being on.
No problem.
It's awesome having you.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me, and I'm hoping to. This is just a way to try to parlay myself into another race seat someplace at some time.
Absolutely, you want to race with these guys? They're fantastic. You'll have a great time.
Yeah. Well, I think we did a show. Does anybody know what we're doing next week? Does anybody have a next show promo? No, planning ahead, not our strong suit.
I think it'll probably be continuing one of those series that we have open, like the Roll Cage series or the
unless we come up with something fantastic, which we really might.
Spotters do it from the roof. I haven't forgotten about you. We're going to make this happen.
It's going to be called Oops, I Bought a Volkswagen.
Oh, I think Chrissy would puke. As being the only Volkswagen owner other than you on the podcast. Ian. Chrissy, how many Volkswagens did you own?
Oh, I don't know, 30. I stopped at 30.
She used to
I
go
had
to
one.
she used to go to
He had one.
H2O. She'd go to
I
H2O
used to go to
Fest.
H2O. Yes, I did. And I shared a Zima with my friend.
Well, thank you, Ian, for joining us. And thank you, everyone who's listening, for joining us. And we hope you enjoyed
Dave.
this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We'll hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building, because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. Then go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating or a 1-star rating. Let me be honest, if you can be as funny as that guy. Even if you hated us, give us 5 stars and tell us why. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. I'm reading very fast because the music is about to end. You can still text us at 484-243-0455. Find us on Instagram or Twitter at Everyone Racers. Thanks again.
Doodly do. Don't forget the
And
doodly do.
until next. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the bell, hit the thing, talk to us on the doodly do down there. You can find us on Instagram or Twitter at everyone.racers. Thanks again. And until next week, keep the shiny side up, unless you're in that Maserati, which I bet is shiny on both sides because that thing was drop dead sexy.
Still
or
is.
just keep those wheels down.